take a walk, gentlemen. Let's see what you got.
Should I be scared right now? So we're here in East Port of Spain, Trinidad, and when people think of Trinidad, usually they think of steel pan drums, carnival, celebrations, and good times. And Trinidad itself is a pretty rich country. They've got plenty of oil and gas deposits, and the GDP per capita here is 18,000. Unfortunately, over the past 15 years, Trinidad's seen its murder rate go from about 100 a year to 500 a year. And that's mostly due to warring gang factions in neighborhoods below me like Laventille, which fight ruthless turf wars, sometimes over just one block. So how did these gangs get so powerful? Many of them have gotten intertwined in politics, doing favors for politicians and receiving lucrative government contracts for public works and construction projects meant to help alleviate unemployment. Adding to that, Trinidad is only 7 miles away from Venezuela. In the past few years, it has reemerged as a major transshipment point for drugs to West Africa and the United States.
Border Patrol officers say they found 732 pounds worth of cocaine.
A recent bust in Virginia had over $100 million worth of cocaine that originated in Trinidad.
So much cocaine, we can't even tell you where we shot this video.
While the drugs only stop in Trinidad temporarily, the guns brought in as protection stay. Many on the island think that corrupt politicians and business leaders are heavily involved. And they say that this culture of corruption and impunity filters down to the street level where gangs do not fear the rule of law. We're on our way to meet Hal Greaves, a former actor now turned community activist who works with a lot of the local gangs. He's one of the few people who can move throughout all territories. Hal, where are we right now?
We're in Canada, and this community has been devastated by the recent fighting between the gangs. Several of the families have been moved out. The buildings have been condemned. We could see where walls have been broken down. There are bullet holes all throughout the community. There was one gang there, and some years ago, the gang broke into almost 5 factions, and with murderous rage. And the boys will tell you that now the kitchen is at war with the bedroom. And the hate they had for people who they grew up among, they shared the same house. Almost once a week, they'll be shooting in the area.
And the government's just powerless to stop it.
They're not powerless, they're just not focused.
The government has tried a number of tools to stop the violence, including curfews and anti-gang legislation passed in 2011 that carries a possible jail sentence of 20 years just for being in a gang. Most of the responsibility, though, falls on Trinidad's embattled police force, who have been criticized recently for extrajudicial killing and over-aggressive policing. We went to meet up with the Northeast Division Task Force. So this is an Uzi that these guys pulled off a gangster about 2 nights ago. There was a shootout, and they killed 2 people. We're about to go on patrol with the Northeast Division Task Force in Trinidad, Port of Spain. From what we're told, they're sort of the baddest cops out there right now. And this is why, because they pull this off people that shoot at them. Our guide was Inspector Roger Alexander, a large man with a fearsome reputation, well known as an officer not to be trifled with. So we've been at the police station for about 5 minutes. They're saying it was basically a quiet night. A call just went over, a guy got shot 6 times. So we're heading out right now with the task force to see what's going on. And it's routine.
Yes, stand by. So right now you'll see the place look very dismal. Everybody lock up.
It's crazy though, it's Friday night and there's nobody on the streets.
Anything could happen here. Anything. Which one? Where?
You can see the shells right there.
One there,
one here too.
Blood over here. Right at the scene of a shooting that just happened. We heard over the speaker that the guy was shot 6 times, blood and shells everywhere. It's pretty tense around here. We're being told not to get too close, but the inspector is a large man and I'm gonna hide behind him in case anything happens. So what happened? I mean, how do these gangs just take control like this? Just
money, drugs.
Yeah.
2 4. There are some people calling themselves Rasta City,
Yeah.
and some is the Muslims. Rasta City have a problem with the Muslims over drug too. So they're killing out each other.
Back and forth, back and forth, back and
Yeah,
forth.
back and forth. Some people in the area, in some of the areas, consider themselves community leaders. But those community leaders say about getting jobs for the youth, building construction in the area to help the youth and
The government
employment.
contracts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what happening too is that instead of treating with only that, we also want to treat with the narcotic aspect of data.
These government contracts for programs originally created as a means of sharing Trinidad and Tobago's oil and gas wealth have backfired and given way to corruption, working to strengthen the very gangs the government is trying to rein in.
It's making our job 9 times harder. Because long time, when we knew all they had was drugs and guns, and they used to come out and do robberies, and we used to catch them. But how do you catch a man now who's getting legal money? It is a little more difficult.
It's easy to hide, too. Does it feel sometimes like you're fighting a losing battle?
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
The police are frustrated in this country because the crime rate is going up. Public confidence in policing is at an all-time low. Police don't get the kind of respect that they would hope for in a country. And a lot of times the police have been fingered in a lot of sort of unsavory practices as well. The traditional methods of law enforcement aren't working as quickly. They're not coming up with much that's innovative and creative. And there's a certain level of frustration. So what we see at the end of the day sometimes is that the criminals are pretty much shot dead instead of going through the work to bring them in alive, to prosecute them, and to probably get that information to beef up your intelligence, to really decimate the kind of organizations and criminal units you're seeing on the street. We're not seeing that. So I guess shooting criminals and dead has become the easy way out for law enforcement.
The inspector wanted to show us the house where his men killed 2 alleged gangsters the night before, smack dab in the front lines of a raging gang war.
This area, yeah? If you come here any day, you might, from the time you reach here, you'll see people running all about the place. Right? They know we kind of know nonsense around here too, so they don't take much chances with us.
So would you come here by yourself in this car, or you'd only come with 2 or 3 other police officer cars with you?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I might come by myself.
Other cops, other normal cops, would they come here by themselves?
Nah.
Never, huh?
They ain't coming here. All right, we share. Stop there. Going up there. Come on, take a walk, gentlemen. Let's see what you got.
Should I be scared right now? We're at the borderline 11 too. Sort of this dividing line where there's gang war between the Muslims and Rasta City. And this is close to where there was a shootout a few days ago. Ooh, I'm out of breath. This is the hills right here, this high ground.
The officer's foot went through here. Yeah. While the gunfight going, all right? What the?
Yeah.
Your foot went through there?
So they put the gun through there and started firing
Yeah.
at you? Jesus, it's a mess over
Yeah,
here.
you right? So the officer came here,
Yeah.
shot, boom, boom, exchange. He foot gone through the hole, swah! He ended up kind of low. So the next man had to come over him, the one. Started to deal with it. What's your foot?
Yeah, there's bullet holes all over here. A lot of blood still flies buzzing around, fresh blood, thick. Whenever we ask people about what happened to change Trinidad into such a violent place where people are willing to take on the police, most traced it to one event that changed the country forever. In 1990, Trinidad was home to the only attempted militant Islamic overthrow of a government in the Western Hemisphere. They say that after the coup in 1990, it was sort of a wake-up point for a lot of people in these communities that the government had no control, and the way to solve a problem was with guns, not with talking.
That coup affected the nation, the society on a whole, physically, psychologically, and otherwise. It really damaged the place, and it would have set the trend that, you know what, if you have a problem, let's take on the forces, let's take on the government, let's hold them at bay.
It showed the weakness.
It showed the weakness. And when weakness is exposed, many people take advantage of weakness.
On July 27, 1990, a man named Abu Bakr, the leader of an Islamic group called Jamaat al-Muslimin, and 115 of his followers violently took over TV stations and government buildings, including the parliament, and laid siege to the country for 6 days.
At 6 p.m. this afternoon, the government of Trinidad and Tobago was overthrown.
24 people were killed in the chaos, and they even shot the prime minister. Because of an amnesty negotiation, they were freed 2 years later and have been continuously in trouble since then. We went to Abu Bakr's compound to talk to him about what went wrong in Trinidad.
I've been charged for murder. I've been charged for conspiracy to murder. I've been charged for treason. I've been charged for terrorism. I've been charged for guns and ammunition. Nothing has stuck because they just fabricated all these cases against me.
We're hearing a lot now that the narco trade here is ramping up a lot.
Yes,
Is it coming
course.
from? Is it coming from politicians? Is it coming from business people? Where is it coming from?
Everybody's involved. Everybody's involved. Everybody, the police, everybody's involved. The Coast Guard, everybody's involved. Our next one neighbor, 7 miles, is Venezuela. And then right next to Venezuela is Colombia. And right here, this is the transshipment point. Go and look at the affluence in Trinidad, and you know in Brooklyn you can find the affluence that exists in Trinidad nowhere.
You know, we saw in the newspaper that the unemployment rate was 4%. Do you think that's accurate?
No, it's not accurate. Far from being accurate. It's a lie. It's a big lie. There's not a single day without a murder or two. Why people would be killing each other if they are employed?
But there was poverty 20 years ago, you know, and there's poverty now. But you didn't see 500 murders a year 20 years ago. Now you see 500 murders a year.
I was in charge.
Oh, because you were in charge.
I'm telling you, I was in charge. 20 years ago, before 1990, I was in charge of the ground. Just before 1990, none of the burner rates, none of the murder rates reached 100. Because we cleaned up the drugs, we cleaned up everything.
After you go to jail, what happens? You lose power of the streets?
No, we just left it.
You just left the streets?
We left it. We say, that's what you want? Well, we left it. And that's what's the problem now. We left it.
Who's controlling it right now?
Controlling what?
Who's controlling the streets?
It's out of control because all the young people just come up after them who don't have the experience of the streets, who didn't have the will, the control. I mean, and a lot of the people who were the community leaders were people who were in our organization. We control the streets. So are we getting better or are we getting worse? It's getting worse every day. This place is going to explode.
There is a perpetual quest for dominance. You go to sleep Friday night and the person that was dominant Friday, Saturday morning, they find him